Broadcasting live from SETI Alpha 6 in the Andromeda Galaxy, this is Mr. C.
Well, happy downhill day to you on this cooler Wednesday. Have you noticed that? You noticed a number of things. Have you noticed the mornings are a lot cooler? It's because the air isn't being heated up as long during the day because the sun is rising later and setting earlier. In fact, it's now longer darkness or dusk darkness than daylight because we're on the other side of the equinox now. So we're on our way to getting cooler and cooler. It looks like the high temperatures over the next week are going to be about 100, maybe even under in the morning, maybe even under 70 degrees, especially out here in bunker land, out here in Mesa. Okay, I think you already have done the following things. You've got 2 white sheets. You've numbered one of them to 10. You've got a red pen available, or you're scrambling for a red pen if you don't have one out yet. I've got a little review quiz for you. So that's what the 3-minute review was about. Okay? And the review quiz is going to be on LS2 and 3. Okay, do nows. You've got homework in your lesson planner. Here's your homework. Review for perhaps 15 minutes on LS2 and 3. By the way, this is what your test is on. Here it is, Wednesday, and again, I'm telling you what is on your test Friday. So, Triple R, LS2 and 3, Psalm 139, 13 and 14. For you form my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works, and my soul knows that full well. And when I ask you on the test, who or what is the wonderful work, you're going to go, AKA me. That would be me. We are God's wonderful works. So what else will the test cover? By the way, I'm just making the point, this test is your last substantial point getter of the quarter. So you might really want to, going, if I could say it, going above and beyond as far as triple R'ing. So how many points? I think probably 35. So it's a biggie. So do your best to get ready for it. Okay? So anyway, let's see, what else for homework? The meaning of Psalm 139, 13 and 14. What's the meaning? I'm telling you what it is. You think I'm going to ask you on the test on Friday? What do you think? So anyway, here it is, the meaning. Psalm 139, 13 and 14. God designed me using my DNA. God designed me using my DNA. Little D action there that might help you remember. I hope so. So anyway, what else? Let's see. Microscope parts. And then procedures, microscope procedures. So they also will be included. So do a nice job with them. Okay. Now, I wanted to, I think I have this. I gave messages out last week to people. Sent little messages. So you'll want to check to see what the message said if you haven't on Teams. So you'll want to check. So messages in period 2 went out to Anders, Luke, J, Caleb, AJ, Harry, Brandon, and Spencer. So you'll want to check. You want to check to see what that message was. So, and Kyrie, I've got one coming your way yet too, I think. And then period 4 to Sienna. I got a message out already. Michael. And then Ethan Sanders. And Braden Tetko. And then finally, period 5 to Dustin, to Noah, to Hope, to Robert and Will, and that's it, I think. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so I wanted you to make sure that you heard about the messages. Okay, so here we go. A little review quiz. Here it is. So if you'll turn over or put out of the way LS2 and 3, turn it over though, turn them over so you can't see them, or put them away. You'll need to do that with LS3 because 4 is the same. So stow them. Okay, here are your 10 questions. Number 1, what is the thick outside part of plant cells called? Thick outside part of plant cells. Number 1, I'm going to go fast. Number 2, what are the storage containers in cells? Water, waste gets stored in those storage containers. So it's number 2. Now, you can't complain on this. I didn't have enough time because I gave you time to review and I've already gone over these. So, anyway, number 3. What are the powerful little parts that change the food that you eat? Chomp, 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 chomp. Right now, chocolate chip cookies are baking upstairs above the bunker. So anyway, I'll be putting one of those between my lips in a bit. Anyway, these parts will change that cookie energy, food energy, into energy the cell can use. It's number 3. Number 3, a big clue. Number 4, what is the center of a cell called? The center that's the control center of a cell. What's it called? Number 5, what's the thick, liquidy part of the cell where the organelles are? The organelles are the special little parts that Jesus made that run the cell and that do very specific and different jobs or functions. So what's that liquidy part called in number 5? Number 6, part of a plant cell, and here's what it is. It's the part of the plant cell where the chlorophyll is, the green chlorophyll. So what is that part in a plant cell? Number 7, this organelle builds proteins. The protein builder, number 7. Right fast. Number 8. Number 8, it breaks down food particles. Now it doesn't change the food in a different kind of energy. That was number 3. This does the breaking down part. Breaking down. Little hint, lucky you. What are they called? Number 9, the outer layer of a human or animal cell. Outer layer acts like a filter, lets certain things in, keeps other things out. Number 9. And number 10. What do you call an organism? An organism is a living thing that has many cells. You have 2 choices. If you miss this, I will roll my eyes. So here are your choices. So put the right answer down. It's a multiple guess in this case. Many-celled organism, is it unicellular or multicellular? Unicellular or multicellular? A many-celled organism. Okay, no time for redos, and I'll say more about that in just a little bit. Here are your answers. Okay, red pens only, other pens away, initial down below your promise to me and the Lord that you'll grade it honestly. Red pens, other pens and pencils put away. Number 1, you can give yourself +1 with each one you get right. Number one, the thick outside border of a plant cell wall. So number one, cell wall. Number two, storage containers, vacuoles. Number two, vacuoles. Number three, powerful little parts that change food that you eat into energy the cell can use. Mighty mitochondria. You didn't have to spell it exactly right, but close. Mitochondria. Number four, the control center of a cell. The control center of any cell. What's it called? The nucleus. Number four, nucleus. Number five, the thick liquidy part. That would be the cytoplasm. Cytoplasm. Number six, the plant part where the chlorophyll is. Chloroplasts. Chloroplasts for number six. Number seven, they build proteins. RBP, ribosomes build proteins. Ribosomes for number seven. Number eight, breaks down food particles. Remember I said lysosomes. Lysosomes. So I was doing the idea of slicing with a sharp object like a knife. So, and number nine, the outer layer of a human or animal cell. Membrane, the cell membrane for number nine. Number 10, what do you call the organisms that have many cells? Now you had a choice. Unicellular or multicellular. Multicellular, of course. Unicellular, multicellular. So number 10, multicellular. Now at the top, put the number you missed. Put the number right over 10. And here's the story on this. If you scored, say, an 8.5, a 9, 9.5, or 10, and you want the score to count, it's optional. You don't have to have it count. Pass it into the center if you want it to count. If you know it's going to help your grade, pass it in. I mean, if you got a 9 or 10, you'd almost certainly want to pass it in, right? Or 9.5. And maybe with an 8.5. That's an 85%. So if you know, well, that'll help my average. Well, maybe a little bit. Pass it in. Okay? So, anyhow. All right. It's time for a brief question break. So, if you have a question for Mr. Gilbert, now is the time. So, any question based on what's happened so far, a little stop in the action, then we'll get going again. Raise your hand, ask Mr. Gilbert right now. Okay, more fun. Okay, I am back and so are you. So after that break, I'm going to quickly review the parts of a microscope that I'm going to ask you about on Friday. You're supposed to have these in your journal. So you might want to turn to that journal section, the microscope journal section. Remember what microscope means. Micro and scope. A scope is a viewer. A viewer. And micro, it views tiny things. Now don't write down tiny viewer. Look at this. Is this a tiny viewer? Of course not. So don't write down when I ask you, what does microscope mean? Tiny viewer. No. A viewer of tiny things. Micro, tiny, scope, viewer. Okay, here are the parts, just really quick. The eyepiece. There's a convex lens right in there. I'll probably ask you what kind of lens is in these. Objective lenses right there, 3 of them, objective lenses. The stage. You're adding anything that you don't have. Arm. I'm holding the arm of the microscope. The arm. Okay. Then you have on the bottom of the microscope the base. Base. Okay. Light switch. Light switch. Built-in light. Built-in light. Okay. Rough focusing knob, the big knob. Fine focusing knob, fine focusing knob, fine focusing knob. Underneath, there is a darkener, which is called a diaphragm. D-I-A-P-H-R-A-G-M. Procedures now. Let's see, did I miss any parts? I don't know if I told you this. This whole thing is the nose piece. All the objectives. Kind of looks like a pig nose, sort of. Nose piece. This is the nose piece right here. Sticks out. Okay, I think I got all the parts after that. Okay. Yeah, I think so. So I'll ask you all of those. A couple of procedures really quick. So how do you know when you're close enough? You slowly move your eye into the eyepiece, and you know you're close enough when you're something or touching. Eyelashes, that's close enough. You never make quick movements. You don't want to damage your cornea, the outside layer of your eye. Not good. Okay? You always focus with a rough focus first, then the fine focus, you sharpen it up. Okay? Now, I'm not going to ask you about this, but here is just a little bit of detail. I'm not going to ask you about it. You always focus with the smallest power first, and then a really good microscope, you can just rotate it and it clicks to the next higher power. How do you know how powerful your magnification is? You multiply the eyepiece. Pay attention to this. I guarantee this will be on the test. Here it is. The eyepiece magnification, 10 in this case, this lens magnifies 10 times, times the objective lens magnification. There's the 4 times magnification. 10 times 4, 40. Then there's this one. It's 10 power. 10 times 10, 100. And then this one, 43 magnification. 10 times 43, add a 0, 430. Ooh, it's a good microscope. So anyway, and you can always tell when the next objective is in place. You hear a little click, and you know the next one is right where it's got to be. Okay? So anywho, that's the microscope. So really important. I'll ask you all of that. Then I'd like you to please take out, you've got it right there. You should have just set it aside. You have LS3. LS3, there it is. Chemical compounds in cells. You've got your red pen right there handy. Make some red dots. Here's what I want you to know on the test on Friday. First, there are about 100, you'll want to write this down on here. There's about 100 different elements that Jesus made everything out of. All the building blocks of everything. A little bit more than 100. About 100 elements. And there's the word element right there. Element. There's about 100 elements. Everything in the universe is made of these elements, we think. Elements. The major element that living things are made of, it says it right here, and I'll ask you on the test. Carbon. Right there, carbon. So you have probably red dotted carbon or circled it. And look what it says. Most compounds containing carbon are called organic compounds because many compounds in living things contain the element carbon, whose symbol is C, which I want you to know. Carbon's symbol is C. The symbol for carbon is C. And this is the periodic table of the elements. You see that? And there are like 4 elements on here I want you to know. So C for carbon, which is element number 14. And we'll learn more about that after Christmas. C for carbon. And then the second element that I want you to know, O. You know what it's for? O2 in, CO2 out, carbon dioxide. So O for oxygen, so you want to put that down right on here. C for carbon, O for oxygen. It's actually O2 for oxygen. And then just two more, just four. There's about 100, a little bit more on here. I only want you to know four. C for carbon, O for oxygen. Okay, O for oxygen. And then N for the major gas in the atmosphere. What do we mostly breathe in? We breathe in a lot of nitrogen. The air is about 78% nitrogen. I'm not going to ask you that. But N for nitrogen. So the major gas, you're making a note, right? The major gas. Are you actually writing this down right now? On here? Are you writing it down? I'm going to ask you. So, again, N for nitrogen. I'd stick it right up there above elements. What are elements? So you've got C for carbon, O for oxygen, N for nitrogen, and then the major gas that the sun is made of. What is it? H. What's it stand for? Hydrogen. Hydrogen gas. So H for hydrogen, the major gas on the sun. So you want to stick that up there. H, hydrogen, N, nitrogen, O for oxygen, and then C for carbon. So you've got those four. Now, if one kind of atom, an element, combines with another kind, now you have two or more atoms, so we call it a different name. What do we call it? Look at the top box. You can see it right there. What's it called? A compound. So over on the right side, compound, there it is right there, compound. So you're going to put a compound equals 2 plus elements when they combine. And I'm going to give you two examples of compounds. Here they are. You already know one of them, CO2. O2 in, CO2 out. What's the gas you breathe out? Carbon di, that's the 2, oxide. The oxide means oxygen. Carbon dioxide, CO2. So you're writing right above compounds, or to the side of compounds, CO2 for carbon dioxide. And then probably the most common compound that you know about is H2 glug 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 O. H2O. Wah wah. It's a combination of H, hydrogen, and oxygen, and when you combine the two, it makes a totally different substance, water. Okay, and then it says it right down here in the second box. Your body is about 2/3 water. You already did that on your worksheet, didn't you? That was one of the true or false questions. So the correct answer was about 2/3 of your body, maybe a little more. Actually, in every living thing, is made of water. So 2/3. If I were you, I would write that right out on the margin, right there. I'd write 2/3 H2O right out there. Are you doing it? Are you doing it? Are you actually writing H2O 2/3 out here in living things? Am I going to ask it on the test? Oh, almost assuredly. Do you want that point? 2/3 water, most living things. Okay? So, tomorrow we'll go over the 4 major kinds of compounds that living things need. So we'll go over those tomorrow. Okay? Now, you're going to get time to work with the microscopes. So this would be the group, I think, Um, Actually, it would be the second group, I think, that hasn't worked with a microscope. So here's your job. You're going to a microscope station. Just one at each station. Social distance. In your journal, you've got a page on, probably says, I hope so, like microscope lab. And whatever station you're at, the number, you're going to, in your journal, make a little drawing of what you're looking at. Now, are you allowed to touch any part of the microscope? Say, no way. No. Don't touch the microscope. Especially do not touch the focusing knobs. Mr. Gilbert and I have already pre-focused. If it seems to be out of focus, raise your hand as you do it. Mr. Gilbert will sharpen up the focus with the fine focus. Your job is to place one eye slowly over the eyepiece. Close the other eye. Look carefully at what you're looking at. Read what you're looking at. Write it in your journal and make a little drawing of it. My favorite, I think, I've got a lot of favorites, but my favorite is the paramecium that is fissioning. It's about ready to divide into two. Remember, where do cells come from? Part of cell theory. Cells come from other cells. Well, that's what's going on with the paramecium. They just fission or divide, and Bob's your uncle, as they say in Australia. So, and you've got, voila, two paramecium. A pair of paramecium when they fission. Okay? So anyway, you're going to work with the microscopes, and then there'll be some of you you'll be at your second station. Mr. Gilbert will sort that out. Who gets to go do a second one? You were in the first group. The rest of you, here's what you're doing. You're studying really hard right now. Your homework tonight is to study, count them, 5, 10, 15 minutes on everything that's on the test. That's your homework tonight. So study right now. Now, I'm asking Mr. Gilbert, if you do a really good job right now quietly studying, say for 8 to 10 minutes, then to maybe let you partner up with somebody and ask questions of each other. But only if you are cooperative during this first part of the review. Okay? So, Mr. Gilbert, take it away. They're all yours.